Hello, folks. Welcome back. Leftover Monkey here. So, looks like Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is going to be a success. I already think it's a success. I think by the time the theatrical run ends, it'll have somewhere close to that 700 million mark, which is a certified hit for Marvel. It really is, considering what they delivered with Ant-Man. And I think it's kind of on par with what the Guardians films should be bringing in. And look, I've heard a few content creators out there say that it needs about 600, maybe 700 million just to break even. Man, I don't know about that. I think that's more like Avatar's break even point. I think with Guardians 3, it's going to be around 400 to 500 million, and they've passed that now, so they're in the profit territory. Look, I must have been one of the few YouTubers out there, one of the few content creators out there that gave a pretty fair analysis of this film before it released. I gave reasons as to why I thought the film would succeed. I gave a reason as to why it could potentially fail. But hey, if you haven't seen that previous Guardians 3 video I did, check it out. If you don't have time, I'm just going to run through the points with you now. Look, firstly, it's a James Gunn film, and James Gunn has shown a lot of consistency with his work of late, and it seems like he has a lot of leeway when it comes to the projects he works on. So that's one of the reasons why it's been successful, Guardians 3 at the moment. Because look, Guardians of the Galaxy, people relate these guys to, well, with James Gunn. And James Gunn's got a great track record and he's building a pretty good reputation. Like, when we hear about Christopher Nolan films and Quentin Tarantino films, James Gunn is starting to get that kind of a reputation. The other thing I mentioned is that with good word of mouth and with a lack of competition, there would be nothing preventing Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 from bringing in a pretty good box office. And this is what's happened. I've been right on all of these fronts, okay? Now, some people have said that the opening weekend numbers for Guardians 3 weren't that great. I do my research and I looked at the numbers. It's pretty good. Like, it did pretty good, okay? Like, considering with what happened with Ant-Man, how bad that was, you would say people would be put off on watching another MCU film, but no, they went and saw this Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 film in good numbers. It did pretty good. But what really shocked people was that second weekend box office. It did wonderful, didn't it? It really did. And I think it's mainly down to word of mouth. Yes, you could say lack of competition, but no, I think it really is word of mouth that helped that second weekend because people that watched Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 in that first weekend, spread some real good news about it. Even those content creators that were panning the film originally before it released, when they saw it, they were like, you know what? It's not as bad as we thought. It's not woke garbage. It's pretty consistent with what James Gunn delivers. And I saw the film, and I don't think it's as good as the first one, but it's better than the second. But yes, it is certainly on par with what James Gunn brings. Now, of course, competition has arrived. Fast X is out in cinemas, and it's going to be a massive hit. I don't think anyone doubted that Fast X, wasn't going to be a hit because this franchise is a juggernaut. Okay, you got 10 films. A little side note, actually, you know, on my last Guardians 3 video I did, I called it Fast X, and afterwards I went out for some drinks, and some folks I know that know that I've started this channel came up to me and were like, "Hey, you called it Fast X, but it's actually Fast 10. It's a Roman numeral for 10." And I was like, "Yeah, I know that. I just like calling it Fast X. It sounds cool, and I'm sure other content creators have called it Fast X as well." But man, they were giving me such a hard time. They were like, no one else calls it that. But then what happens, a week later, Jeremy Jahns, he does a review of the film and he called it Fast X. And then there were a lot of other content creators that called it Fast X, but I'm sure people were calling it that well before. And I met up with these dudes again just the other night and I was like, well, and they were like, oh, yeah, I guess you can call it Fast X. Well, okay then, okay. But either way, the Fast and the Furious franchise is a juggernaut. Fast X is going to be a big hit. The Fast and the Furious fan base, though, is incredible. I stopped watching at number 6, but I admire the fan base. Okay, they're a fan base that Star Wars. We used to have a fan base like this, but man, it's just yeah. I admire, as I say, I admire them. I really do. But let's get back to Guardians 3. Okay, yes, it's starting to have its box office numbers chipped away by Fast X, but there's a silver lining because Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse doesn't release until the 2nd of June, I believe. So both Guardians 3 and Fast X have a couple of weeks here to really just rake in more dollars. And like I said before, I think Guardians is going to reach that 700 million by the time it ends its theatrical run. All right, though, the big question, is it enough to save the MCU, though? No. Sadly, no. See, the problem Disney Marvel have at the moment is that they've got nothing of note to back up Guardians now. They've got a couple of Disney Plus shows, and then they've got the Marvels in November. Nothing of note. Disney Plus is in like some pretty deep shit at the moment. It's a real shit show. Like they're in some big trouble. They're talking about releasing shows now in one lump, like Netflix does. And the shows coming up this year for Disney Plus, they've got Secret Invasion and Loki season 2, I believe. Now, Secret Invasion might be okay, but I've just got such low expectations for it. As for Loki season 2, I'm not going to watch that. I'm going to skip that because season 1 to me was pretty lackluster. And then what? The Marvels in November. Who's looking forward to that? I'm sorry. That looks like it's going to be a surefire fail. I think it's going to do the same thing that Ant-Man did. It's going to be a pretty bad day for the MCU when that film comes out. But to summarize, guys, Guardians Volume 3, success in my opinion, and I think people are warming to me on that. They're saying, you know what, it is a success. It's not woke garbage, and it's on par with what James Gunn is delivering. But yeah, not enough to save the MCU, guys. Sorry. But that's me for today, guys. Feel free to like, subscribe. I will be getting a new microphone soon because I know there's some pitch and tone issues with the one I'm using now. I'm just using a headset. I'm pretty new to YouTube, so I'm just either using my, normal work headset or my laptop microphone to talk with these videos. But hey, I'll be changing that very shortly. Either way, guys, till next time, Leftover Monkey out.